If you look at the protest, the shooting, we need to be out there on point for the homeless, because everywhere they walk, you see them out there.
Well,
We don't have the jobs.
well, again, Clyde, I just think even, Mayor Franklin, Mayor Bottoms put together some money for affordable housing, but now that's been put on hold because of budget shortfalls. And so what I would suggest, as you remember, probably back in 1994, when the Imperial Hotel right down Peachtree Street had been sitting there vacant for a number of years.
SRO house.
Yes, and when we made the decision, we're going to take this building and move the homeless in there. Now, what I would suggest, to keep us from being civil disobedient, so many of these high rises across the nation, quite frankly, like even in New York City, so many of the high rises are vacant. And so I think that we need a new brand of activists that would focus their attention and would focus on, the homeless. And if in fact, if we can't turn some of these buildings now that's built for the affluent, let's turn them into Section 8 housing. And they're not too good for a human being to live in. So that would be my request for consideration, not only for the government and Ms. Bottoms and others, but for the barons of industry, that it would be in your own enlightened self-interest to give housing to people that's living under the viaducts here in Atlanta and across this nation.
Now, if you go from ML King to Boulevard, ride the Boulevard to Ponce, you had a lot of public housing there, Section 8 housing. These folks are being squeezed out because they are buying property, building $400,000 houses up there. As you said, we're sitting on a powder keg. The summer's not here yet, all right? And I feel as if there are going to be more, not the police per se, but it's almost like saying these new white neighbors coming in these old black neighborhoods, and they're going to call the police, and this is going to end up being a mini race war.
Well, the point is,
this is the tip of the iceberg.
I don't know if you read the editorial op-ed that was, they allowed me to put an op-ed in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution yesterday.
Tell me about it.
Well, what I essentially said is that we need to have an honest discussion on race. And I suggested to white people, you need to stand down. Get off your high horse. And as you suggested, they've moved into the gentrified communities like Vine City and English Avenue. And then they come in to the neighborhood planning units, the NPUs. Many of them are highly educated, but they come in with their uppity attitudes to take over. It's time out for that. And if we don't have a new attitude, if we don't come with some humility, this whole thing's gonna blow up.
Would you not say where we are right now, what we see going on today in terms of the protest, this is just the tip of the iceberg?
Well, absolutely, there's no question, because right now the demonstrations are not focused, and they're marching from one venue, to another venue, but there's no action item. And I'm not, I certainly, again, not suggesting at all that we would engage in any violence. That's why I'm saying the decision makers need to be proactive, because if these demonstrators observing the fact that we have all these homeless people and we have all these high rises, high-end buildings that's being built that's empty, that we would focus and we would go to that particular building that's vacancies here. Let's move the homeless in this high rise. And I think that it should be done voluntarily rather than for us to force the issue.
Now, this is the other thing that I have seen since I've been out there in the street. There is no communication with our elders. It's the young folks out there. They have the energy. The elders have the knowledge. There is no relationship. How do we build that? That needs to be built.
There's no question about it. We have to build it, and somehow there's been this move, and it comes from clandestine areas that the old folks need to sit down and be quiet. No, maybe we have to sit down because we don't have the energy, but we don't have to be quiet. I'm planning on staying out here until they take me out of here and not breathing anymore. And so, but there's a willingness on the part of young people. I experience it all the time to listen. And so there needs to be a collaboration between our young people and our older people. And if there's any one thing that to me is very positive about these demonstrations, is how interracial they are. And
they're organized too.
Well, and there's a disruptive
element
bunch
in there
of saboteurs that's involved that is doing this property damage. We got to weed them out.
Now you know, 123 Peachtree, the Wilburn sisters have a clothing store. They make their own design. They broke all the windows out of that.
Well, once you know,
and that's black owned.
Yeah, on the point is, once the adrenaline is flowing, the logic is gone. You're angry, and so you strike out at whatever it is that's around you, and so we've got to channel our rage, and we have righteous indignation. We need to channel it, and I think that that African Americans, based on our history of 246 years as slaves, and then another 100 years of terror from the KKK, and then the Civil Rights era, and then now we're in this period. And as I suggested in my op-ed piece, it's time for white people to come and stand down and to listen, and let's move toward a more equitable and just society. And if we don't, I think we're going to see some real destruction, and even gated communities. I would suggest there's no safety because this simple phrase, no justice, no peace. And we don't want to take it beyond putting it on the sign. But trust me, if we don't get some justice, and which will bring some peace, then the opposite is bound to manifest itself.